Here's everybody.
Hi, sorry.
Okay. Alright, I'm here to talk to y'all today about regenerative farming. It's a concept built around restoring soil health and water resources. Regenerative farming is becoming a big topic these days due to lack of water, or lack of rainfall. Less rainfall means less crop yield, which ends up leading to bankruptcy with smaller farms. If you come here today, it's for a reason, more than likely it's curiosity. My goal here today is just to educate you on this concept. But keep in mind, these non-traditional practices are not one size fits all. It's up to you to find out what's best for your farm. But I'll tell you, if you work your way towards regenerative farming, you'll see a big difference. Might not be right away, but it's definitely worth it. Today, traditional farming includes plowing, disking, and fertilizer, all of which do a lot more harm to the environment than most people know. Disking and plowing destroys microbes, which all plants need to grow. And placing fertilizer is basically just a band-aid to unhealthy soil. It'll grow a crop, but you'll have to use it every time, and it's expensive, which cuts into profits. Another thing that's traditional is pesticides, which there is a standard set by the EPA for a safe human consumption percentage. But there is a chance that pesticides might run off and around ponds, creeks, and lakes, which have potential to contaminate the water supply. Regenerative farming has become a universal term. It basically replicates nature to rebuild natural resources. A few examples are using rotational grazing, cover crops, and no-till drilling. All are using nature and common sense to reach a common goal, which is soil health. One of my favorite alternative regenerative farming practices is cover crops. It's a very complex process and takes a lot of pre-planning. In this process, it's best to get with a cover crop company and give them soil samples and tell them what you're planning on planting next. Then they'll send you a list of recommendations to fill your needs. The reason why it gets to be a complicated task is because some cover crops produce a byproduct, which can either be a good thing or a bad thing, depending on what your crash crop is. Another thing cover crops do is get so thick they keep weeds from growing, and they can protect the soil as they act like an armor from the sun. Tests have shown that growing vegetation such as cover crops helps keeps the ground warmer in the winter and cooler in the summer, as compared to no vegetation. So in this process, very beneficial to the overall health of the soil and the seed. Another practice is using no-till drill to plant. This is a drill that plants seed without tilling the ground. It uses a wheel to flatten the ground, then a straight disc to cut the ground as it plants the seed. This way minimizes soil disturbance, which helps maintain the soil microbes, giving the seed a stronger start. Next is livestock integration. Management of rotational grazing. This is a process that fundamentally mimics the huge buffalo herds that used to roam the land before the settlers arrived. Which when they roamed, they fertilized with their rumen and cultivated with their hoofs, and they watered it in with their peat. When the settlers came, they tilled the land. It said during plowing, it sounded like a whip cracking due to the root systems were so healthy and strong. So today's practice is to hold a set number of animals in a small concentrated area for a set amount of time, then rotate them to another small pen and repeat the process every week or so. You typically want to give the land about 3 to 4 weeks of rest after it's been grazed. This natural process helps put organic matter back into the soil and feeding the microbes that makes the soil fertile. So when a crop or grass grow in it, brings the carbon back into the earth and stores it within the organic compound. It's all about the carbon and the organic matter. It's all part of a healthy ecosystem, which in return builds a good crop. Another beneficial part of a strong organic matter is that it turns the soil into a sponge, which retains water instead of letting the water run off. All three of these practices, cover crops, no-till drill, and livestock integration, go hand in hand. You can do one individually, but it's best to do all three at the same time to get better results. The list of the testimonies out there over regenerative farming is huge. A few of them inspired me are Gabe Brown and Greg Judy. Greg was on the brink of bankruptcy before he changed from traditional ways to regenerative ways. He states that if you get on the path, you can make your farm not only more productive, but more resilient to bad weather and droughts. such as being able to soak up more water through the organic compound. Gabe has done tests and found in some spots at this farm he can capture up to 28 inches of rainfall within 24 hours. So your crops actually soak it up instead of it just running off. Greg Judy, on the other hand, is big on rotational grazing. He has many videos on how to set up for rotation grazing, including temporary water setups to the type of polywater he recommends for electronic fences. Both are great resources for information on the details of regenerative farming. And they are both members of Groundswell Agriculture, which is a regenerative movement that goes around the world giving seminars and teaching about regenerative farming. They have a lot of YouTube videos as well. If you're thinking on implementing these practices, you need to take the time to do your homework and follow through, because it's a lot of groundwork at the beginning. After you get the idea off the ground, though, you'll find that what works best for you, and it gets easier. Some of the challenges you might face are equipment issues and managing the herd through the new practices. The first 3 years are going to be the hardest. The reason for this is that seasons change, and you must learn that the kinks in your new plan to build up your organic matter. Don't be afraid to ask people in the regenerative farming community for help. You can search it on YouTube. There's a lot of good information out there, and more than likely somebody's running into the same issues as you. The point of this speech was to get you thinking about regenerative farming and help you find ways to implement practices on your own farm. We all live on this planet, and most believe this is a step in the right direction to help make the planet better than we found it. I want to say thanks for you listening to the speech. I hope you take this information home and start looking for ways to implement some of these practices on your own farm.
Yeah, remember not to get out of here. People, yay.